What's up, PTB Nation? Welcome to another episode of Mr. Bank. Sorry, let's do that again. Welcome to another episode of Parking the Bus here on the PTB Media Network. It's been a long recording day, and I just got that completely wrong. But here we are. It is Sunday night. It is late Sunday night. Nobody's watching live right now. That's probably good, but I am here live. If you happen to be watching, feel free to jump in the chat. If I see it, I will address it. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. Another weekend in the books. Another work week ahead of us. If you can't hear me, I'm using a new mic. Please let me know. I'm very nervous that this isn't working, and I'm kind of testing this one out to make sure that it works. I'm playing around here a little bit with the audio, but it looks like it's working, which is good. We're going to talk about the Women's Euro tonight. That's going to be where we're going to lead off, okay? We've got 4 games to talk about. We've got Groups C and we've got Groups D to talk about. Okay, as you see there now, it's down there on the bottom. On the ticker, you see we're at episode 89 of Parking the Bus. I'm the Mr. Mike Agostinho. You see my handle there on your screen. It is at MikeAgostinho, at Mike Agostinho. And the show, as always, you can follow on Twitter, and you could be watching right now on Twitter. That's at PTB_media. All right. I am retweeting this out right now so that we can finally be seen everywhere. Again, great weekend of football. It was so hard to keep up with it all. I was watching 2 games at once most of the weekend when I was watching games with MLS, Liga MX Brasileirão, and the Women's Euro all going on. I have watched so much football this weekend. Just great football on display. I got to give a shout out to everybody at the Uefa Women's Euro. This tournament has been fantastic. Yeah, we've had some lopsided results, but that's because we have some really good teams playing. Attendance records shattered. Yesterday, we had the biggest, we had a brand new attendance record for a match not featuring a host nation. That, of course, was for the Netherlands and Sweden last night. 21,000 plus in attendance. That is a phenomenal feat. And I think this tournament's been awesome. I'm going to be awesome. I'm going to be honest. It has been awesome. What do you guys think? If you're in the chat, let me know. Or if you're listening on the podcast, you can let me know there as well. You can hit me up on Twitter, again, at MikeAgostinho, or at PTB_media. You can email me if you want at PTB Media Network at gmail.com. Also on Instagram at the same handle at PTB_media. If you're watching on YouTube right now, hit the subscribe button, please. Hit the subscribe. Hit the little bell next to it to get notified whenever I go live. If you haven't yet, check out my film. I just posted it again, okay? I just posted the PTB Tour film, New York. Okay, I posted it yesterday, and I found some errors in it. Of course, I edited it, and I rewatched it. I had to be 10 times. And once it went live, I noticed a typo in one of the scenes. I won't tell you which one if you didn't notice, but I fixed it, and I just posted it today, and it's up now, the new one. So I am going to take the original one down that has the error in it, okay? Again, it was a blast to shoot that film. It was a blast to document my son's first live match. And again, like I said Friday, thank you to everyone at New York City FC, all of the fans, the stadium staff at Yankee Stadium, the wait staff at the Hard Rock Cafe, the wait staff at the Stamford Diner, the hotel crew at the La Quinta Inn in Stamford, Connecticut. Everyone made my son's first match an absolute dream come true for him. So thank you all. All right, let's get in to Women's Euro action. Okay, Euro 2022. We're going to start with today's match while they're fresh on the mind. Okay, we're going to start with the big one. We're going to start with France and Italy. Okay, I'm going to bring that up here, and I'm going to go through the lineups of this France v Italy. This was, especially in the first half, a 45-minute clinic from the French side, Les Bleus. They were awesome, absolutely awesome. This French team is filthy good. I mean, and I mean that in the best way. This French team is fantastic. That was 45. When we saw the anthems coming out, right? We saw the anthems, and you see the Italian team singing Fratelli d'Italia with such passion, with such vigor, with such fire. I thought they were going to come out and make this a completely competitive match. I thought they were going to come out firing like the warrior like with like the warriors they are. I'm trying to think of what the feminine form of warrior is, but it's warrior. That's what they normally are. But this French team just was not permitting it tonight. This match played, of course, I believe this was at the Manchester City Academy Stadium. I'm double checking that for you right now. This match was played. It was played at. Yes, it was played at the new. Oh, sorry, it was played at the New York Stadium. It's called in Rotherham, in front of a crowd of 8,500. Small crowd, but it was a small stadium. But you have one of the best teams in the world in France on the pitch here against one of the up-and-coming teams in the world, Italy. I expected this to be a competitive match just because this is the Euro, and this is such a big occasion. But I think the Italian ladies came out a little bit flat today, a little bit nervous, and the French wanted to remind everyone that they are absolutely fantastic. They are one of the best in the world. People forget about them because they crashed out a little early in the last World Cup to the United States. People forget about them a little bit, but they wanted to remind you today. Let's look at these lineups, will we? We start with the Italian lineup for their manager, Milena Bertolini. All right, they go with Laura Giuliani in goal. Across the back, Bartoli. The captain, Seragama, who I'll talk about her in a minute. She escaped a red card thanks to the VAR. Lenati and Boattin across the back. Three in the midfield. They play 4-3-3. Giuliano is the anchor in the number 6 position with Gali to her right and Caruso to her left. Girelli is the striker wearing the number 10. She has Bergamacci to her right and Bonacea to her left. For the French side and their manager, Corinne Diacre, she sends out a 4-3-3 as well. Her goalkeeper is Pauline Perot-Magnin, the goalkeeper for Juventus. So she's going to be very familiar with this Italian team, seeing that she plays her club football in Italy for Juventus. You've got Yves Perisset as the right back. You've got Aisato Tokanara of Atletico Madrid playing in the center back, along with the captain, Wendy Renard of Leon, one of the best, no question about it, one of the well-known names in women's football around the world. And the left back is Sakina Kachoui. All right, in midfield, Bilbao is in the anchor. She's got Guerrero to her right, and let's talk for a minute about Grace Guerrero. She plays her football for Paris Saint-Germain, and she was on the score sheet 3 times in the first half today. A fantastic first half hat trick for the PSG midfielder. And on the left, Sandy Toletti of Levante. Up front, the striker is Marie-Antoinette Catoto. She plays her club football for PSG as well. You have Kadaditu Diani on the right. She also plays for PSG. And the left-sided forward is none other than Leon's Delphine Cascarino. So very, very strong French team. Again, these players play on the best teams in the world, whether it's, PSG, Leon, 2 of the best. Leon won the Champions League once again. And it's just strong players. Not that Italy is not strong, but this French team is just phenomenal. Let's get into it a little bit. All right, it was a blitzkrieg right off of the opening whistle. In the 9th minute, Giroud gets on the board early. A little bit of a mistake in the back line for the Italians. It falls to the striker. Sorry, she doesn't wear number 9. She wears number 8. She's the right-sided midfielder, I should say, and she finds the back of the net with some ease. And from there, it was just an onslaught. 3 minutes later, Katoto makes it 2-0 for Les Bleus. And France not looking back. France on fire in this one. 40th minute, they find 38th minute. It's Cascarino with an absolute rifle off her right foot from the left side, just outside the penalty area. She just puts a absolute opposite foot banger, just a missile into the far post. Nothing that the goalkeeper Giuliani can do about that one. And I think at that point, Italy kind of broke a little bit, okay? I think after they surrendered the 2 early goals, they kind of stabilized a little bit. They broke out of that little, funk. This was not unlike Switzerland and Portugal yesterday in the way that the game started. Very, very similar, okay? Except this wasn't Switzerland that went up 2-0. It was France, and there's a big difference. And but again, much like Portugal did yesterday, and I'll talk about that in a little bit at some length because that's the team I'm obviously the most familiar with in this tournament. But here it was just Italy stabilizing a little bit. But again, that third goal seemed to break the backs of the Italians. They looked a little bit disorganized after that. And you don't expect that from an Italian team. You expect an Italian team to be very disciplined defensively, to be well-positioned. And there was nothing you could do about this. So no goalkeeper is going to save this. It was perfectly placed. It was an absolute missile. Cascarino puts it in. And then 2 minutes later, it is Giroud once again to make it 4-0. She walks in. And again, the ball gets lost in midfield by Italy. And this is what I mean by they kind of imploded here. They lose the ball in midfield. Their back line is all out of whack. I don't know if they're flying forward to try to get one back before halftime, if they're overreacting to the fact that they're down 3-0. Because when you're down 3-0 like this, it should be more about getting to halftime in stopping the bleeding. It looked like they were thinking more about trying to get one back before halftime. So when they lose it in transition like that, France is coming the other way, and there's openings all over the place. Everyone's out of position. Giroud sees the path. She runs into space, into the right space, gets in behind, dribbles the goalkeeper, and slides it home 4-0. And you can just feel the walls crashing down on the Azzurri in this one. And again, just a few minutes later, same player on top of halftime, right at the edge of halftime in the 45th minute is Giroud, completing her hat trick and making it 5-0 at halftime. If you didn't think so before, you must now. France are legit contenders. Make no mistake about it. I've talked about the teams I'm looking at, and I talked about France, but I'm really looking at France now. Perhaps I also underestimated France. France go into the locker room ahead 5-0. And I mean, what do you say to your team when you're the manager? What do you say when you're Milena Bertolini to your players down 5-0 at halftime? She makes one substitution at the half. She makes 2 substitutions, excuse me. She sends on Martino Rossucci, the 30-year-old from Juventus, and she sends on Flaminia Simonetti, a 25-year-old from Inter. She sends them on to try to stop the bleeding and try to get something going. And what doesn't help is shortly thereafter, you see Gama, the captain, Sarah Gama, appearing to get sent off. I think it was in the 50th minute. It was early. Let me see here. Exactly when it happened. It seemed early. It was in the 66th, actually. It wasn't as early as I thought. But she comes in completely reckless. And I have to say, I have to be honest here, is I don't understand how this red card was not held up by VAR. She came in, she mistimed it terribly. Her studs are everywhere but where they're supposed to be. She makes contact with the player. Somehow the referee, and I have the referee's name here, the referee tonight was, I have it here. The referee in this match, at least I thought I had it here. The referee was Rebecca Welsh of England. She gets called to the VAR monitor. And can I say that VAR is being used, I'd say, better in this tournament than I've seen it used in a long time? I like that the referees, when called to the VAR, are actually going to look. I'm getting used to in the men's game in a lot of the leagues, the referee's not even looking, just listening and taking the decision of the VAR official in the truck in the central location, wherever it is that they're checking it from, and not looking at it for themselves. I thought she was just going over to look at it to basically reaffirm her decision on the pitch. I think she got it right the first time. I'm not sure what Christina Uncle said about this when ESPN went to her. This match was on ESPN. All of these matches, of course, streaming on ESPN Plus as well. If you're a football fan and you don't have ESPN Plus, I don't know what you're waiting for. Unless you're not subscribing to ESPN for ideological reasons, that I can respect. But if you're a football fan, it's a very good tool to watch football, and they have all these matches streaming there. So I can't remember. I don't think I had the volume on because I was watching this the same exact time I was watching the Brazilian league. Corinthians and Flamengo were playing at the same exact time. So I don't remember hearing what Christina Uncle would have said about it, the referee expert. But somehow she comes back and she makes the VAR box, which tells me she's changing her decision. Otherwise, she would have just upheld it. And she pulls the red card out. She does the sign that she's taking back the red card, and she gives Gama a yellow card instead. I was shocked, but hey, again, VAR here shining a positive light, I would say. If you watched Major League Soccer this weekend, and I'll talk to Major League Soccer, and then I'll talk about Major League Soccer in the next segment. I have to say VAR questionable, very, very questionable in Major League Soccer this weekend, but here in this one, it's the VAR was used. The referee looked at it herself. So if she looked at it herself and changed her decision, it obviously was not what she thought she saw the first time around. So good for her on getting the call at least right in her own mind, or in her own eyes, I should say. And Sarah Gama gets to, most importantly, it's not about staying in this match. It's about her being able to play. She's the captain. Being able to play in the next match, in the one after that. Italy are going to hope to qualify. They still have a very good chance of qualifying. The other two matches in the group are winnable, and I would say that Italy are actually expected to get the necessary points to advance. So we move forward, and in the 76th minute, it is Piemonte for Italy, finally breaking the score sheet, finally breaking the clean sheet that France was holding. Martina Piemonte, assisted by Lisa Boattin, 76th minute, makes it 5-1, gets the consolation goal, gets a little bit of honor, a little bit of pride, a little bit of respect. The Azzurri now have to go back to the drawing board. They got to forget this result, and they got to focus on the next match in the group. Very possible, and very much within their ability to come away with 2 victories and find themselves in the quarterfinals. But a very dominant, especially first half, dominant performance for Les Bleus, for France, and they'll take the 3 points. The other match in the group today, in Group D, it was the early one. Belgium taking on Iceland. These are two of the teams with lesser expectations. These are two of the underdogs, if you will. But 2 good teams nonetheless. The thing about a 16-team tournament, and I miss when the men's Euro was 16 teams. I've said that before. I'm going to probably say it throughout the duration of this competition. But a 16-team tournament, every team is legit. There's nobody that does not deserve to be there. And maybe you can say that's the case in a 24-team tournament as well, but I could beg to differ. I think you can squeak in some teams that aren't quite at the level, but here these teams are all at the level. And you get Belgium taking on Iceland. Iceland, no cakewalk either. They are no walk in the park. They are a respectable team. They have played they've played teams very, very tough in the past. And I know I saw an interview over the weekend of Carly Lloyd talking to Alexi Lalas here in the United States on Alexi's State of the Union podcast. And they were talking, this was old, this was from 2 or 3 months ago, but they were talking about the United States playing Iceland in a friendly not that long ago. And Carly said that Iceland were always tough. Every time she played against them, they were tough. They're physical, they bring it, and you'd expect nothing less from Iceland. And they come into this one, and you know what? They get themselves a great opportunity early on. The referee does not call the penalty early on. However, this is still in the first half, of course. Once again, the VAR is called into play here, and the referee, in her name in this match, the referee is Tess Olofsson of Sweden. She goes over to the monitor, takes a look. This is still in the first half, like I said. She takes a look at it, and let's get it here. And she overturns her original call on the pitch, and she gives Iceland a penalty. She goes over to the monitor to review the penalty incident on the screen, and she turns around and does the box, points to the spot. Again, I am horrible at pronouncing these Icelandic names, but stepping up to take it is going to be Thor Vonda Stier. And she takes what I have to be honest and call a pretty pathetic, mediocre penalty, if you will. She doesn't hit it well at all. There's no confidence in the way she struck this ball. She tries to pass it into the corner, which a lot of penalty takers take penalties that way. The problem was her accuracy was not that good. Looking at it again, I think her plant leg was a little too far behind the ball. Okay. And, or I should say in front of the ball. I think she planted a little too deep, too far, which meant that when she swung her leg to hit it with the inside of her foot, it was in too tight on her. It was kind of like we say in ice hockey, you say that the player is handcuffed when the puck is in too close to the feet. It's kind of the same thing. So she doesn't get the angle she wants when she strikes it, so it doesn't go anywhere near the post. It goes maybe a third of the way between where the goalie was standing and where the post was. The goalie's not even forced to guess. She has time to react. She dives to her right and calmly just goes down and pounces on the ball. She saves it, no rebound, and just like that, it is still 0-0. And Iceland, you can see her teammates quickly over to console her, to tell her to keep her head up, keep going. We go into halftime, it's still 0-0, but in the second half, Iceland, knowing that they should be ahead, they come out fighting 5 minutes into the second half, and finally Iceland take the lead, and it is that same Thor Valdostier. She makes up for her earlier penalty miss, and she fires Iceland into the lead 1-0, monkey off the back, weight off her shoulders. The crowd is ecstatic, and the Icelandic side takes the lead after Vilhelmandasdóttir. I apologize again for my pronunciation of these Icelandic names, but after she whips in a fantastic cross, Thorvaldastir meets it at the far post and powers a header into the back of the net. And Evgard, the goalkeeper for Belgium, she gets a hand to it, but she's unable to prevent it from flying in. 1-0 to Iceland. And they're looking and thinking about possibly getting 3 points here and trying to get ahead on the team in the excuse me, trying to get ahead on the Italian team. I think they were expecting the French to win the second match, and both of these teams knew that 3 points here would give them an outside shot of advancing. Iceland thought they were going to get it there, but Belgium come fighting back in the, let's see, they come back and they get their goal in the 67th minute, and the referee this time, no VAR needed. She takes a look, clear penalty called on the Icelandic defender, sticks her foot out, tad bit late, and yeah, the Belgian striker will run right over her leg. There was no way she could get out of the way of that leg either. And the referee does not need VAR, like I said. She points right to the spot. Up steps Van Helvermay. She steps up and she buries the penalty. It's 1-1. It's a share of the spoils to both teams. Neither team able to get a head start on Italy, and now they put a lot of pressure on themselves if they want to advance, because now they only have a 1-point lead on Italy at this point, and they're gonna hope that they can steal a point on them in match day 2, of course. And we'll take a look here at the match day 2 matchups in this group. So on Thursday, July the 14th, noon Eastern time, Italy takes on Iceland. Iceland are going to be desperate for a point in this one to give themselves a chance to advance going into the final match. Of course, they're going to bank on France beating Belgium. And France and Belgium will kick off at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And, of course, both of these matches on the ESPN family of networks, whether it's on ESPN or ESPN. Everything is on ESPN Plus. Really, the easiest way to watch this is to stream it on ESPN Plus. Okay, let's move to yesterday's match, and the one that I was, for obvious reasons, very, very interested in. It's Group C. It's Portugal taking on Switzerland. Same situation, same exact circumstances as Belgium and Iceland. Both of these teams needing very much to get a head start. If they have any hopes of advancing to the quarterfinals, they needed very much to get 3 points here. Both teams went for the win. I'm going to give them both credit for it. Neither team sat back looking for the draw. Knowing that the Netherlands and Sweden were playing in the nightcap, and those are the two favorites, it's completely possible. You wouldn't be crazy if you put your money on the defending champion, the Netherlands, to take on Sweden in the final. It's very possible. Both of those teams are very capable. But again, these two teams needing very much to get 3 points to give themselves any chance going into the two matches. And I think that the fixture list worked out the way it worked out to the advantage of these two teams, that they get to play each other first and try to get that 3 points. I'll give you the lineups here. Again, I'm very familiar with this Portugal team. I've been following the Portuguese women's team for over a decade now. Way back, the Portuguese women's national team used to come to my neck of the woods here in New England and try to recruit players that qualify for Portuguese passports, try to recruit dual nationals. So I identified so strongly with this team back then. Before I even really watched any women's football, I really got into women's football following the Portuguese national team. It was not the U.S. women's national team that got me into the women's game. It was this Portuguese team. For the sheer reason, I got to meet a number of the players back then, okay? Shout out to Sonia Curvelo, the coach down there in Texas, college coach. Kimberly Brandon, her sister Lisette Brandon. I've met all three of them. They are all coaches now, and that's how I met them, was through the coaching connections that I have and through our Portuguese American Soccer Coaches Association group, which I served as treasurer for. These were all American and Canadian born players playing for Portugal at that time. Okay. The growth in this national team today, they have no American or Canadian born players. They are all homegrown players, all Portuguese grown players that the clubs, particularly Benfica, Sporting, and Braga, have done a fantastic job developing. And there's a lot of these, the older players here are kind of from that generation still, or from the tail end of that generation. They had to play on boys teams, and they had to play, they had to go abroad and play in different countries all over the world. Whereas the younger players came through the Portuguese academy systems into the Portuguese league. A lot of talent, a lot of young talent, and also a lot of the younger players in this national team have experience playing at European championships at the youth levels, U17, U19, U20. They've all had experience playing there. Portugal has been competitive at that age. Now finally seeing some of that here at the senior level. Portugal qualifying for their second consecutive European championship. Yeah, there's a little asterisk next to this one. They didn't really qualify, but that came down for me down to the coach's mistakes, and I think he still kind of seems to get some things wrong here. Not to be overly critical of the manager, but Portugal came in second in their qualifying group, which qualified them for a playoff. They drew Russia in the playoff to get in. In the home leg, okay, the goalkeeper situation in this team has always been questionable. He's got 3 good goalkeepers. However, at the time of the playoff, 2 of them played on the same club team, Inês Pereira and her teammate at Sporting, who was, her name's escaping me now. I do apologize. Patricia Moraes. Thank you. Inês Pereira and Patricia Moraes, both playing for Sporting at this time. And Inês Pereira had won out the starting spot for her club team. The problem was Patricia Moraes was the manager's choice for the national team. Going into that playoff, even though she had not been playing at her club team, he stuck with his number 1, which was Moraes. And she gave up a, let's just say, we use the word frango in Portuguese, a weak goal, let's just say a weak goal to the Russian team, and it saw Portugal eliminated. Portugal given a second life when Russia was expelled from the competition and banned by Uefa for the time being. And Portugal finding out only a month and a half ago that they were coming in, but they had to assume they were going to be the team to replace Russia. So they get a second life, and they come into this matchup, okay, and here's Portugal's 11. Inês Pereira does get the start in this one, and now the things have changed since that playoff. Inês Pereira now plays her club football for Servette in Switzerland. I think she's very familiar with this Swiss team. Maybe that's why she was selected. I don't know. Patricia Moraes moved on to Braga. She started for them all season, had a fantastic season. And the third goalkeeper is Ruth Costa, who was just signed by my club, signed by Benfica. I'm going to flash that socio card again, that members card. She was signed by them just before this tournament. For me, and it's not because she's signed with my club, but for me, she is actually the best out of the 3 from what I have seen. I thought she was the best goalkeeper in the Portuguese league this year for her former club, Famalicão. But anyway, the manager goes with Inês Pereira, and I can see why. She's good with the ball on her feet. She's probably the best one at playing with the ball on her feet. And he tries to play a possession-style game. He goes with her here, but she is, I have to say, the shortest out of the 3 goalkeepers. And her lack of height comes into play in this one. With the 4 in front of her, the right back, Benfica's Catarina Amado, Sporting's Gomes partners up with Benfica's Carol Costa, and Sporting's Joana Marchão is the left back. In midfield, the trio, it is Dolores Silva, the captain and the anchor. She has Tatiana Pinto to her right and Andrea Norton to her left, and in the front, the veteran Ana Borges of Sporting Clube de Portugal. On the right, Benfica's Jessica Silva as the striker, former KC current player, former Leon player as well. And on the other side, it's Diana Silva of Sporting. So I think the manager here, as far as the outfield players, played his best 11, at least in terms of fitness. You can argue in 1 or 2 places, but I think there's fitness questions with those ones that were left off. For Switzerland, Talman starts in goal. Merits, Calgary's Kivic, and Igobun are the 4 in the back. They're playing 4-4-1-1. Kronogorvic is the right winger with Viti and Mayindli in the center, and Reutler is the left-sided midfielder. So plays in the number 10 position behind the striker Bachmann. I've been excited for this match for a while, as you can imagine, ever since it became official that Portugal were going to be in it. I was excited that they got to play Switzerland first because I thought they could get 3 points here and keep a glimmer of hope that if some way, somehow, they can steal a point from one of the other 2 teams, they may just have the outside chance to get through. Those dreams were dashed in the first 5 minutes when Switzerland scores twice, okay? The first goal by a perfectly placed ball in the far post. There's no goalkeeper that's going to save that. You can call into question the positioning of Inês Pereira. She didn't even stick her arms out at it. I don't know if she thought it was going wide, but even if she had played that perfectly, positioned herself perfectly, she was not going to save that ball. The last thing you want to do, okay, is give up a goal in the second minute. Now, Portugal coming in 8 qualifying matches, only 6 goals allowed. Okay, very good defensive side. However, you can't give up a goal in the second minute. Just same thing I said about Italy, right? Except fortunately for Portugal, they're playing Switzerland, with all due respect, and not France. However, a few minutes later, in the 5th minute, Jessica Silva called for a kind of needless foul in midfield. Didn't think anything was going to come out of it. But the shell shock continues as the ball is driven in, and it's driven in by it's a set piece, I should say. And the ball is driven in by Ramona Bachmann, and she finds the head of Rahel Kivic, who is taller than any player on Portugal. She outjumps Catarina Amado. However, this ball was just steps from the far post. For me, this is a goalkeeper's ball all day. However, again, I call into question Inês Pereira's height. So the way I look at this, okay, as a coach, a former coach, whatever, but there were times my goalie was not very tall either. When I have a shorter goalkeeper, my rule of thumb is you have to hold a deeper line. You cannot hold such a high line. You can't really play the offside trap, because if that ball goes in over the top, you have to trust your goalkeeper to come out and get it. Now they play a higher line because they trust Pereira to come out and play the ball with her feet. She can sweep or keep. However, this is a set piece, and the ball's going to be dropped right into the corner of her goal area, of the small box. And in fact, this was very close to her goal, but she did not come out and get it. I think perhaps Portugal's line should have been deeper, closer to the goal. I know it would have created more traffic in front of the goal, but what I like when this is the case, and you have a goalkeeper that's on the shorter side, is I like the goalkeeper to stay on the line and be there to save the header. And I want my defenders to play a deeper line and to be the ones going into the air to get it. That's not the case here. And Kivic's header finds the back of the net. Inês gets her hand to it, but not strong enough. It goes through her hand and into the box, into the goal. Switzerland up 2-0 after 5 minutes, and this could have very easily turned into a bloodbath. Credit to Francisco Neto, and I've been critical of him. I was critical of him when they failed to qualify on their own without the help of, UEFA expelling Russia. I was critical of him, but again, he gives the signal to his team to calm down, and Portugal do calm down. I'm going to read a few stats for you here. Portugal ends up winning just about all of the stats in this match. Possession, 57%. Expected goals, Portugal had 2.21 expected goals. Switzerland only 0.69, but Switzerland got those 2 goals. That's the problem. Down 2-0. They don't give up, though. They fight back. They stabilize. Switzerland doesn't really have another scoring chance for the remainder of the match. So for 85 minutes, Portugal keeps Switzerland to essentially no scoring chances. And in the second half, they come out, and he makes a couple substitutions here. Let's take a look at the substitutions. He doesn't make them at halftime. He makes them a little bit later, but Portugal come out in the second half, and they're playing some football again. And they finally find their way to pull one level. I'm watching this game with my family. This was a lot of fun. Okay, my son is watching, and I teach him that this is football. And I love the advertising on the pitch side advertising boards, and it says these women play football, not women's football. It's exactly what I teach my son. This is not women's football. This is football. This is why it irks me to no end when American journalists have to refer to the U.S. teams as the USMNT, USWMNT. No, it is the USA, and that's the end of it. That's the end of it. They both play football. They're both the national team. They don't say that about any other national team anywhere in the world. They always mention the country, and you know what they're talking about because you know the game, and you know if they're talking about women's or talking about men's football. But for some reason with the United States, it's like there was a memo out that they always have to use that stupid acronym. And they do it on ESPN and on CBS all the time. I'm looking at Luis Miguel Echegaray. He overuses it. And Hercules Gomez, too, overuses it. Okay? Even though he doesn't use the acronym, he just says the 5 words. When it's the USA, we know what you're talking about. Don't treat us like we're stupid. Okay? There's no need to go into these identity politics. They are the USA, both teams. They play the same game. They represent the same country. We know if it's the men's team or it's the women's team. But anyway, I digress off the topic here. Diana Gomes gets a goal here and pulls one back for Portugal on a header. It's a nice goal. And Portugal are given sorry, it's not a header. The header is originally saved by the goalkeeper. And then the ball, bounces around on the goal mouth, and Diana Gomes gets her foot to it and gets it in. 2-1. Portugal's got a new lease on life here. And 7 minutes later, it's my girl. It's Benfica's Jessica Silva of Benfica, former KC Current, former Olympic Lyon player, former Levante player. She picks up the ball and she finds the back of the net, and it is 2-2. And I am going crazy at this moment. I am running around my living room screaming because I feel like they're going to come back and steal all 3 points. They nearly did just a few minutes later. We do get some substitutes here. In the 77th, Ana Borges is off. Kika Nazare is on. Kika is a future star. If you have listened to my Mr. Benfica podcast, you know how high I rate this player. She is a future star, 19 years old. I think she has the world at her feet right now. I think she's going to be at a big club very, very soon. Not that my club isn't big, but she's going to be at one of the top women's clubs in Europe very, very soon. And she comes on and she brings a lot of fire. She brings a lot of ability. Really good on the ball, has great vision. She does all of the things. She's not the best athlete in the world. The physical part of the game hasn't developed there for her yet. I think that's what's holding her back a little bit on the biggest stages. But in terms of technical ability, in terms of her ability to play between the lines, to see what's in front of her, to put the ball in the right place, she's one of the best I've seen at 19 years old. No, she's not lightning fast, and she admittedly knows she doesn't have the best shot. She needs to work on her finishing. But really, one of the best football minds I have seen at 19 years old, male or female. And she has great vision, great spirit. She brings so much to the team. She comes on. In the 83rd minute, Tatiana Pinto is replaced by Fatima Pinto, and Jessica Silva is replaced by Telma Encarnação of Marítimo. And Telma nearly wins the match for Portugal on her first touch in the match. On her first touch, it is Kika who collects the ball in midfield, beats a player, plays a brilliant through ball right on to Telma. Telma looks up, shoots, and she just puts it off the post. Portugal were that close to winning. It was hard to see on the television because that half of the goal was in the shade, and these daytime games are sometimes hard to see when half of the pitch is in the shade. That one was in the shade. That's as close as Portugal got to winning it, but they were very, very good. Switzerland had a few opportunities against the run of play late, but unable to either team unable to get that winner, and it's a share of the spoils as well. And it pretty much dashes any opportunity, any hope these two teams have of advancing, but they can still make a very, very good, give a very good account of themselves in this tournament. They're playing against 2 of the best 5 teams in the world in the next 2 matches, and I think they're gonna relish in that opportunity, and they're gonna cherish it and have a chance to prove themselves in front of very, very world class opposition. Okay, again, like I said in the stats here, Portugal winning most of the stats. That expected goals is difference is phenomenal. 17 total shots for Portugal, 5 big chances, but unfortunately only 2 go in. They connect on 361 accurate passes for a 79% efficiency. But in the end, again, it is a 2-2 draw, a share of the spoils. Just a good football match to watch, an entertaining football match against 2 teams that were playing like their lives were on the line. Again, credit to Portugal's manager, Francisco Neto. He made substitutions to go win the match. He didn't make substitutions to hold the 2-2 result. So good for him. I think he did well. We can question his decision to start, Inês Pereira in goal. Admittedly, I have not seen the Swiss Women's League this season, so I don't know what kind of form Inish Pereira's coming in on. I know what kind of form the other two keepers are on. But he went with who he went. He's the one that's in the team. He's the one that's in there every day, seeing them in training. Him, and his goalkeeping coach, they made that decision. So, they'll look at the film. They're gonna feel they let this one get away. But all in all, a very good performance, good account for themselves in this major scene. Again, this match was played in front of a good-sized crowd. Let me see here. I'll give you the exact numbers here. This match played in front of 5,900 at the Lee Sports Village in Greater Manchester. I think it was Wigan was the name on the advertisement board. It was Lee and Wigan, and the two teams played for the fans that were there. It was a full house. It was a small stadium, but it was packed, and it felt like a big moment for both teams. The last match to talk about today was the big one in Group C yesterday, Netherlands versus Sweden. Again, possible finals preview. Netherlands shell-shocked also. I mean, again, we're getting what I like in this tournament. We're getting a lot of early goals, a lot of first-half goals. And what those goals are doing is they're opening up the play, making for entertaining second halves. And it was Sweden, it was Anderson who gets on the board in the 36th minute. It's not an own goal. That ball was well over the goal line before the Dutch defender sliding to try to save it would get the final touch on it, but it was already in. It was a goal from Jonna Anderson on an assist from Kosavari Asliani. And Sweden take the lead, go into halftime with that lead. Second half, though, the Netherlands come out. Jill Roord finds she gets a little bit of a fortunate bounce. Again, you see the ball ping around in the area, and the Swedish defender fails to clear it. It falls right to Jill Roord, and she makes no mistake about it. Turns and shoots, beats the goalkeeper 1-1. That's how it would finish. Both teams playing some fantastic football. Possession just about even. Expected goals both at 1. Each scored 1. Shots 9-11, slightly in favor of the Swedes. Now it remains to see how the final two matches in this group play out. But here is the table right now. It's all even in Group C, and everybody's got 1 point. So match day 2 in Group C will be on Wednesday. Sweden v Switzerland at noon Eastern time, and Netherlands versus Portugal at 3 p.m. But again, ESPN Plus is your go-to for all of these matches. Okay. That's going to do it for today's talk on the Women's Euro. I'm going to take a quick break here, all right? And after this break, we're going to get into MLS. It was rivalry weekend in Major League Soccer, and we got plenty to talk about, and we'll see how quickly I can go through it and see how quickly let's see how quickly we can get to Liga MX. This is the Park in the Bus podcast, episode 89. I'm the Mr. Mike Agostino. Once again, give me a follow over on Twitter at MikeAgostinho. I'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Parking the Bus podcast, and let's get into Major League Soccer. A full slate of matches, pretty much everybody in action this weekend, and a lot of rivalry matches. They market it as rivalry weekend. I have mixed feelings about that. I almost feel like it would be better if you had a rivalry match once a week. Rather than playing them all on the same weekend, I think they kind of take the spotlight away from each other. I think matches like a Texas Derby would be a much bigger deal on a weekend when you don't have Seattle-Portland, when you don't have El Tráfico. But Major League Soccer, this is a money-making opportunity for them in terms of advertising as well. They get a sponsor. They call it Rivalry Week. They put all these matches on. Interesting to see next season when this is all streamed on Apple TV. Apple TV Plus, just how they go about it. But let's take a look here and run down the results in Major League Soccer. I'll just run them down, and then after that, I will give my thoughts on it. We'll look at a few matches. We can't obviously talk about 14 matches here in this space. The results, as if you can see, are rolling at the bottom of your screen right now. If you are watching on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever you may be watching. But we started off Friday night, and I was recording Friday night. So those of you that watched or listened heard me give you an update on this one. It was 4-0 at halftime. It finishes 7-0 to Philadelphia Union on Friday night. Goals in this one by Alejandro Bedoya in the 9th and 37th. Julian Carranza gets a hat trick in this one. He scores in the 22nd, 25th, and 72nd minute, while another goal is added by Mikael Ure. And Philadelphia Union completely just taking the soul from DC United. In the last episode, I was saying I was hoping DC United might be turning it around. I don't know if there's a fan base more deserving of a turnaround, more deserving of having a team, back where they belong. This is the league's original powerhouse, the league's original dynasty. But this is not how DC United want to be known. Losing 7-0 on a Friday night in Philadelphia, in the club with the closest geographical proximity to them. These are two clubs I'm going to see in a couple of weeks in the same weekend. That's right. The Parking the Bus Stadium Tour continues July 30th at Subaru Park in Philadelphia, or in Chester to be exact. And it continues the next night, July 31st, at Audi Field in Washington, D.C. I can't wait to get there. I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully DC United puts on a better effort that night when they take on Orlando City than they did here. Congratulations to Philadelphia, obviously. 3 much-needed points, and it is just so tight at the top of the Eastern Conference right now. And then late night, Friday night, we had El Tráfico, and let's talk about Gareth Bale again. I feel like we're going to talk about Gareth Bale a lot on this show for the rest of the season leading in to the World Cup in November. But if you haven't noticed, if you don't read Spanish media in Spain, specifically Marca, which is the Spanish publication I read. And if you don't read Spanish, it's available in English. You can go to marca.com and select English and read it in English. For quite some time, the criticism on Gareth Bale in Madrid was one of the biggest criticisms, was that he failed to acculturate to Spanish culture. And they say he failed to make any effort to learn the Spanish language, the Castilian language. Well, Gareth Bale sends a big middle finger to the Madrid press and to the Spanish press when LAFC and Major League Soccer release a video of him telling LAFC fans in quite perfect Spanish how glad he is to be in LA. I thought this was shades of Zlatan right here. This was absolutely entertaining. I love Gareth Bale already. I love him in this league already. I know fans of other clubs are very down on this. They feel cheated on this one because he's not even a DP. There's a quote out there from a director from, I think it was from Philadelphia Union, saying that it's a lie. He said he knows that he's a DP. He doesn't believe the numbers. He doesn't believe what LAFC are reporting. And, in the past, Inter Miami have been penalized for not correctly structuring players' contracts and by claiming players are on TAM contracts, total allocation money, and not on DP contracts. He has a hard time believing Gareth Bale is playing at LAFC for $1.6 million. Honestly, I think Gareth Bale has enough money, and I think he's someone who knows he has enough money. It's a short-term contract, and I think he knows that he wants to be informed for the World Cup more than he wants to get paid right now. I really do believe that. And obviously, he wants to play golf. Everyone knows he wants to play golf. I do truly believe that was at the root of his decision to join LAFC and not to join Cardiff City. I think that was a big reason he went to LAFC. And he knows here he's not going to get criticized for playing golf. But I think it's a great bit of trolling. And I have to tip my hat to Gareth Bale for going on video in Spanish just to show the Madrid and the Spanish media that he did, in fact, learn the language. He just didn't care to let you know about it. Gareth Bale, well done. He also joins the team in the celebration here. LAFC win El Tráfico 3-2 over their rival, the LA Galaxy. Jose Cifuentes with 2 goals, first in the 17th, then in the 70th. Also a goal for Christian Arango on an assist from Carlos Vela. And the LAFC side just continuing to show that they are, in my opinion, the best team in Major League Soccer this season. Now, it is very hard. I don't know how anyone has MLS power rankings, okay? I know there are sites out there and there are shows that come up with that. I don't know how it is possible to follow 28 teams at once. So it's very hard for me to say who the best player in this league is. It's hard for me to say who the best team is. I know which teams I've seen. I've seen some teams more than others. LAFC are, the table doesn't lie. They're leading the Supporters' Shield standings. They're heading into the second half of the season, getting stronger. Giorgio Chiellini is in the team now. Let's look at the lineups in this one for both teams, okay? LAFC, their manager, Steve Cherundolo, one of my former favorite U.S. players. He's got in goal, he goes with Jonathan Bond, the Englishman, 29 years old. He's got his right back is Julian Araujo, the Mexican. He's got Sega Kubali, 26-year-old Frenchman, partnered with Derek Williams, the Irishman. And that's soon going to feature Giorgio Chiellini. And the left back is Raheem Edwards, the Canadian national team player. In midfield, he goes with Efrain Alvarez. So I apologize. I'm reading you the LA Galaxy's starting lineup. So can you tell it's late? It is 11 p.m. and I'm normally not up this late. Okay, so we're reading the LA Galaxy's lineup here. Bond, Araujo, Cobai, Williams, Edwards, Alvarez, Delgado, Marco Delgado, that is 27-year-old American, partnering with Rehan Raveloson of Madagascar, 25-year-old center midfielder. And you have Samuel Grandsir as the left-sided midfielder. Behind the forwards, Dejan Joveljic of Serbia, 22-year-old Serbian player. And, of course, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, Javier Chicharito Hernandez, 34-year-old Mexican legend, former Manchester United, former Bayern Leverkusen, former, you name his teams, former Chivas player. You can name a number of teams that he has played for. Fantastic player, brings so much to the table. Now the LAFC team I was reading off. I was intending to read off Maxime Crépeau, the Canadian international, is the goalkeeper. Ryan Hollingshead is the right-sided, the right back, the 31-year-old American. The center back pairing, Jesus Murillo, the Colombian, 28 years old, partners with Sebastian Ibiaga of Nigeria, 30-year-old. And now I should say correctly that we will see Giorgio Chiellini in there at some point. And the left back, of course, is none other than Diego Palacios, 22-year-old Ecuadorian. In midfield, the 4-3-3 is anchored by Ilie Sanchez, a Spaniard of 31 years old. The aforementioned Jose Cifuentes of Ecuador, 23-year-old Ecuadorian. Man of the match in this one with a 9.4 rating on FOTMob. Kellen Acosta gets a start in this one. He's, of course, 26-year-old American, U.S. international. Very likely to be on his way to Qatar later in the year to represent the USA. And then in the attack, you've got the captain, Carlos Vela, 33-year-old Mexican. Should be on the Mexican national team, but right now he is on the out because he has been basically excommunicated by Tata Martino. He partners with Christian Arango, 27-year-old Colombian, and the left-sided forward is the American Danny Musovski, 26-year-old American forward. So again, LAFC wins this El Tráfico, and there's a good chance that these two teams are going to meet up in the playoffs. And I don't like that Major League Soccer is one-game rounds in the playoffs. It kind of makes the entire regular season almost, inconsequential. The only thing it decides is where these playoff matches will be played. LAFC here, we look at the stats in this one. Less possession, but that's because they took a lead early. Essentially the same expected goals, same amount of shots. The LA Galaxy connected a lot more passes, which you would expect of a team that had more possession. They had 56% of the possession. But, in the Bank of California Stadium, it was LAFC's match to lose. They end up taking it. And you see Gareth Bale celebrating. He takes the megaphone and leads the supporter section in the post-match cheer. Gareth Bale has really embraced this opportunity, and like I said, I feel like his name is going to come up week after week in this one. If you haven't seen the highlights in this one, go to YouTube and watch it. Major League Soccer, I have to give credit. Their highlight packages that they post on YouTube are second to none. Better than just about any other league there is. They give you 7-minute highlight packages, and you feel like you got a feel for everything that went down in the match. And then the final match, Friday night, Vancouver Whitecaps lose at home at BC Place 3-1 to Minnesota United. We move to Saturday in a match that I watched and a team I've seen a lot of lately, of course, New York City FC. I've watched more of them than of any other team, maybe in the world right now in the last 4 weeks. Another stellar performance by Castellanos. That's right, Valentin Castellanos, Tati, as they call him. It's a 4-2 win for NYCFC over New England Revolution. New England Revolution fans complaining about the referee in this one. Of course, you can't blame them when they conceded 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 penalty kicks in this one. The VAR called into question, of course, and Timothy Ford was the referee. I've seen the memes. They have already put the memes out there about him. But, I mean, New England is struggling. You can say what you want, but they are struggling, okay? And on the other side of the ball, New York City FC, NYCFC, is struggling defensively as well. Gustavo Bo scores a goal this week that drew the game level at 1-1. That was pretty much identical to the game-tying goal that took 2 points from NYCFC a week ago when I was in the house at Yankee Stadium. Identical to Dom Dwyer's goal. It's a player going down the right, beating the outside back, getting in behind, and then squaring the ball back on an angle right onto the late arriving midfielder. This time or the late arriving attacker. This time it's Gustavo Bo, and he buries it in the far post the same exact way Dom Dwyer did a week ago. New York City FC really needs to clean up that back line. I got that sense from their fans when I was in their stadium visiting. A lot of them said that they're very concerned about that back line. If this team is to repeat, they're going to have to clean up their defending. But Castellanos, what a performance. Once again, he gets a double. He gets more than a goal. He's up to 12 now. I believe he leads the league in scoring. We'll go down the goal scoring table in just a few moments. But what a performance once again by Valentin Castellanos. And you also get a good performance from Santiago Rodriguez and from Teles Magno. Same 3 guys that were big a week ago against Atlanta. But this time, New York City FC gets the much-needed 3 points in this one. And they stay unbeaten at home. I think it's 9 consecutive now at home, unbeaten for the Citizens. For the Revolution, their best player was Gustavo Bo and their goalkeeper, Petrovic. He made some great saves as well. One of them on a penalty, saving a Castellanos penalty. but not enough offensive production for my liking from the New England Revolution. And I can be accused of being overly critical of them. I have a history there, and but I believe I am unbiased and impartial to New England Revolution, because let it be known that the people the people that I had an issue with at New England Revolution are no longer there. I don't hold anything in my past against the people that are there now. Okay. So let me say that right now and just get that out of the way. And I think that, I think that New England Revolution a year ago were the best team in Major League Soccer. They won the Supporters Shield. They now find themselves 18th in the overall table. Winner question is going to be asked of Bruce Arena. That's what I want to know. Why does he always get these free passes? Questions should have been asked of Bruce Arena the moment he blew a 3-0 aggregate lead in the CONCACAF Champions League to Pumas. He went to Mexico with a 3-goal lead. No excuse for blowing that. He saw the team, bow out of the U.S. Open Cup as well. And they're dropping points left and right here. They are absolutely dropping points left and right. Yes, I know Matt Turner's gone to Arsenal, but Petrovic is playing fantastic in goal. So there's no drop-off there. There's absolutely no drop-off there, but you're just not getting the same kind of season from Carlos Gil. You've lost Busca. He's gone overseas. And, Bruce Arena is has brought in some players, and it has not panned out. I mean, you got Sebastian Lletget in there. I'm a fan of Sebastian Lletget, but you get Josie Altidore in there, and I don't know what's coming of that. You look at the lineup again for New England, and Andrew Farrell was sent off. That also is a tough one. The VAR does see him sent off. A lot of Revolution fans, credit to them for their honesty and for their honesty, because they admit that was a red card, but it was not a penalty. And how that is it was outside the box. I think it might have been outside the box as well. Again, the VAR called into question. This isn't the first time I'm calling into question the VAR this weekend in Major League Soccer. 2 goals from Gustavo Bo, but Andrew Farrell sent off for a foul that I believe was outside the area. It was a clear cog, so it was a clear and obvious goal-scoring opportunity, but it was outside the area. And tough break for the Revolution. But again, you got guys just that he brought in that are just not panning out, in my opinion, okay? And I'm a big fan of AJ De La Garza. I can't remember the last time I saw AJ De La Garza on the pitch. Josie Altidore is here. I don't know why, and again, Sebastian Lletget is in there. He's doing his thing, but at the end of the day, this team went from 1st to 18th. And I know there's still half the season to play. But when are questions going to be asked of Bruce Arena? I know he's got a great resume. He is the czar of Major League Soccer. And even if I personally am not a fan of his, I admit and I recognize how good he is in this league. Last year was a show of it. But again, there was a little criticism for getting knocked out in the first playoff game last season. Although I do believe if there's a second leg, they probably advance. But this is the team that knocked them out, and they've completely switched roles. You've got New York City FC a little bit behind, but with the Supporters Shield in sight, and New England Revolution right now on the outside looking in the playoff picture. The rest of the match is a big one. The American Derby, if you will, the greatest rivalry in America, in my opinion. I love watching these matches. And one of my bucket list items is to get to one of these matches. It's Seattle hosting Portland Timbers, the two NASL, legacies. I know that technically not the same clubs, but the names have been passed down. The fan bases have been around. For all intents and purposes, these are the 2 oldest clubs in Major League Soccer, even though they haven't spent their entire history in Major League Soccer. They're the closest thing to promoted clubs we have, along with, Montreal and FC Cincinnati and a few others that have done their work in the lower levels. But these two stayed alive for 20 years, for the better part of 20 years, between the NASL and more than 20 years, really. 30 years, if I'm not mistaken, before they were brought in to Major League Soccer. And you've got the CONCACAF champion, Seattle Sounders, taking on their arch rivals. And last year's finalists, Portland Timbers, let's look at the lineups in this one. We've got for the Timbers, of course, their manager is one of my favorites, Giovanni Savarese. I was joking to my wife during this match that I have 3 times tried to Facebook friend Giovanni Savarese. I've met him twice, and he just ain't having it. He ain't going to be my friend, and I guess that's cool. But, man, I want to learn from this guy. When I was a young coach, and one of the first things I saw his Met Oval youth team from New York City. Okay, Metropolitan Oval played the New England Revolution's Academy and completely wiped the floor with the U16s. I saw them just fantastic. Maybe the best 16-year-olds I've ever seen play the game live and in person. Probably the best. And I was just impressed with his coaching. I followed his work through the New York Cosmos and now at the Portland Timbers. He don't want to be my Facebook friend. It's all good. It's all good. But Giovanni Savarese, no doubt, one of the best in this country. He goes with his normal goalkeeper, Ivacic from Slovenia. Van Rinken, Mabiala, Zuparic, and Bravo are the 4 across the back. A double pivot in midfield in their 4-2-3-1. You've got Eric Williamson, the 25-year-old American, partnering with Diego Chara, the 36-year-old Colombian. And in front of him, an attacking midfield 3, highlighted by the number 10, Sebastian Blanco, the 34-year-old Argentine, playing with Diego Chara's younger brother, Jimmy Chara, 31-year-old Colombian, to his left, and with Santiago Moreno, another Colombian. This one's a 22-year-old Colombian with a bright future, Santiago Moreno. And they're playing behind the striker, Jaroslaw Nizgoda, the Polish 27-year-old striker. And just some numbers for him. 7 goals on the season with 1 assist in 16 matches. And he is a Poland U21 international. And he was good in this match. He was the man of the match, to be honest. Just a overall dominating performance from the Timbers once they got the lead. But once again, I do have to talk about this because VAR gets it wrong again, in my opinion. There was a clear penalty, as I should read the Seattle lineup as well. Seattle goes with Sebastian Frey, a guy I want Greg Berhalter to take a look at before he finalizes which 3 keepers he's taken to Qatar. I think Sebastian Frey deserves a look. He was fantastic in the CONCACAF Champions League. He's fantastic in Major League Soccer. He had a hard day here. Still earning a 6.0 rating, though, in a match where he surrendered 3 goals. That's saying something. At right back, you've got Alex Roldan. You've got the center back pairing of Jamar Gomez, the Colombian, and Jackson Reagan, the American 23-year-old. We'll talk about Jackson Reagan in a moment. And the left back is Nohu Tolo, the Cameroonian 25-year-old. And then maybe the most petulant player in all of Major League Soccer. I'm going to tell a story about Kellen Rowe in once I finish this lineup, as he just had an absolute meltdown in this game. I don't know how, I've lost count how many times I've seen Kellen Rowe have a meltdown in the last decade. He's partnered in the double pivot with Albert Rushnak, the Slovenian 28-year-old midfielder. These teams play identical systems. Behind a midfield 3 that is highlighted by the number 10, the captain, Nico Lodero, very, very good attacking midfielder, a star in the Champions League final. To his left, he had Jordan Morris in this one, and to his right, he had Christian Roldan, Alex's brother. And the striker, of course, is the Peruvian Raul Ruidiaz. And Seattle is a lot better than this 3-0 result. Let's talk first about the VAR, though. Nico Lodero clearly taken down in the penalty area. I know it was already 1-0. You already had the goal from Nizgoda in the 24th minute. And when I look at the ticker here, I'll get the exact timing of this questionable penalty check. I don't know how the VAR watches this. I can see how the referee does not call the penalty. Again, they're playing on that hideous artificial surface. And let me say once again, for anyone who's listening, MLS, Outlaw this stupid plastic surface. How many players have to tear ACLs before this surface is outlawed? It is not in your interest to play. And I'm going to be honest, it's not in the interest of American football either. You saw Odell Beckham go out in the Super Bowl for the same reason. These surfaces are not safe. They're not good. They make sense in places like Iceland and Greenland, and I think I have to have an episode someday about the possibility of Greenland joining CONCACAF. They make sense in places like that, in Scandinavia, in Russia, in wherever that, the cold is just unbearable. But you play in the summer in the United States of America. You do not need this surface. It does not help the American football team one bit in this stadium. The owners of the Sounders and the Seahawks should want their players protected. They should want a grass surface. I don't care how cutting edge this playing surface gets. It's never going to be like the real thing. And this is a first division. This is the highest level of football in this country. I think that the several pitches that are plastic in this league need to go. I really do. If it's not good enough for the World Cup, it should not be good enough for Major League Soccer. People talk about Major League Soccer having to set the bar high, and they worry about transfers. They worry about player signings. They worry about television ratings. How about having state-of-the-art facilities, but how about have state-of-the-art grass pitches only? You don't see this in the Premier League. You want to compete with the Premier League. Here's one place you can actually compete with the Premier League eye to eye and stand with and be level with them, and that is get rid of these pitches, put grass in, make it a requirement. They're going to have to do it for the World Cup. I hope that after the 2026 World Cup, these pitches are gone from Major League Soccer. Anyway, I say that because Nico Lodero on the live feed did look like he might have gotten his studs caught in the turf. That being said, he still got taken out. There was still contact. The defender still made contact with his leg. Still a penalty. I understand how the referee might have missed it because it did look like he got stuck in the turf. But the VAR checks it and doesn't have him look at it. The VAR checks it and it's not overturned. I don't understand this one bit. There's something about referees in our country here where they think it's some kind of mark against their refereeing abilities when they have to give a penalty. This was a penalty on any pitch, anywhere in the world. Once with VAR, of course. I understand, again, it not being called live, but with VAR, it should have been a penalty. Poor job by the VAR official. Just before halftime, Raul Ruidiaz hits the left post with a right-footed shot after receiving a ball from Jordan Morris. Just a lot of chances for Seattle Sounders to pull level in the 45th plus 2. Jackson Regan is shown a yellow card. Again, where was the VAR? This should have been a red. He comes in with his forearm, gets it on, I can't remember which Portland player it was, but he gets him in the temple. I mean, this is a red card, especially with VAR. And once again, the VAR drops the ball. That said, Jackson Regan says, don't worry, I got this. And right on one of the first plays of the second half, he comes in like an absolute lunatic. And he nails Eric Williamson for no reason in the middle of the pitch. I don't know why he's coming in like a lunatic like that. And this time the referee cannot let him off the hook. It's a second yellow and an early shower for Jackson Regan. Seattle now playing with 10. Everything has changed. The no call on the penalty changes everything. And we see Portland start to take control. With that, again, on this red card, Kellen Rowe has an absolute meltdown on the referee. Now, I'm going to let you all in on a little story. This story this is one of the things that got me in trouble with the New England Revolution. 2013, 9 years ago. Our Real Boston Rams, where I was a staff coach, we played a training match against the New England Revolution at Gillette Stadium at the training pitch on the grass on like a Wednesday afternoon at 3 p.m. They asked us to come in and play against their second choice team, who was getting ready to play a U.S. Open Cup, I don't know, round of 16 match against the Red Bulls, because of course you got to use your second string in the U.S. Open Cup, right? Jay Heaps asks us to come down. We come down. My boys play pretty well. Okay, we had a good team. I mean, our team featured, Dominique Badji, for example, who plays for FC Cincinnati now. Featured a few other players that I felt should have had a chance in Major League Soccer. Didn't really get that chance. Shout out Fabio Machado. He's one of them. Shout out to Zico Lewis. He plays for Bermuda national team. Still doing his thing in the USL all these years later. We went there with guys like that, and we played some good football. Kellen Rowe was having one heck of a day when we were not letting him do anything. Now, he felt he was above. Or at least the way he portrayed himself was that, like, he felt he was above playing in this reserves training match, essentially, on a Wednesday afternoon. Okay? We had a couple of Revs Academy players in our team as well. Okay? He was getting shut down. There was a referee for this training match. Kellen Rowe starts diving everywhere. He is absolutely verbally abusing the referee for the entire 60-minute training match. It amazes me to see that it appears there's been no growth in Kellen Rowe in the last decade, because he was behaving the exact same petulant way in this match, and then Brian Schmitzer subs him off. And we see the meltdown of meltdowns. My 6-year-old son keeps it together better than Kellen Rowe did when he was substituted here. And you can see players trying to calm him down, and he's pushing them out of the way. He's taking the water bottle. He's spiking it. He is stomping his feet, crossing his arms. Just a disgusting display from Kellen Rowe. I'm going to throw a shot at Kellen Rowe here. No reason to act that way. He's supposed to be one of the leaders on this team. He was substituted here. Joshua Atencio comes on for him in the 64th minute. The 20-year-old American comes on. And, it's just not Seattle's day, even though they are playing in front of a huge crowd, as they're accustomed to. But, again, it was 47,722 to be exact, the official number in the house at Lumen Field. But they just can't get it going. And, this is such an important game for them and their supporters. But as the game went on, what you're hearing is the Portland Timbers supporters. Finally, 82nd minute, it is Portland doubling their lead from the penalty spot, no less. Santiago Moreno converts a penalty. 2 minutes later, Darion Asprilla, the substitute, connects from Yaroslav Nagoza. And it is 3-0. That is all she wrote. Cascadia Derby, bragging rights, go to the Rose City in this one. In their rose kits, their pink rose kits. 3 much-needed points for Portland Timbers. And Seattle Sounders drop 3 much-needed points. So, again, a big rivalry match. One that Seattle wants to forget. Another talk about wanting to forget. How about Atlanta United? I was high on them last week. And they drop a 3-0 decision at home to a very impressive Austin FC. Austin continuing to shine. Ethan Finley puts in a man of the match. He gets a goal in the 17th. Felipe gets one in the 9th. Druisi, the team's top scorer, gets one in the 57th. 3-0 for Austin FC. And in their second year, they are showing that they are a team to be respected, a team to be feared down the stretch. I'm interested to see what they're going to do when the playoffs roll around, because in this league, it's all about that. At the Stade Saputo, Montreal, CF Montreal, or the Impact, as I like to call them, hosting Sporting Kansas City, a team that desperately needs points. They were in the bottom of the league. Doesn't start well as Romel Kyoto scores for L'Impact, as I like to call him. Montreal takes the lead, but then on the 29th, it is Roger Espinoza, the ageless Roger Espinoza, turns the clock back, and Espinoza makes it 1-1. And in the 63rd minute, it is Remy Walter on an assist from Kiri Shelton. SKC take 3 much-needed points. Talking about much-needed points, expansion side Charlotte FC, playing in, what is it, Bank of America Stadium, I think it's called. They get a big 4-1 win over their, they're not a cross-state rival, but their regional rival, even though they're in the Western Conference right now. It's Charlotte FC 4 and Nashville SC 1. Goals in this one belonging to Christian Fuchs, to Karol Swiderski, Sergio Ruiz, and Andre Shinyasiki for Charlotte. Hani Mukhtar converts a penalty for Nashville SC, his 11th of the year. And Charlotte pick up 3 more points. Toronto FC and San Jose Earthquakes play to a 2-2 tie at BMO Field. At TQL Stadium, it's FC Cincinnati 1, New York Red Bulls 1. Enough for NYRB to stay top of the Eastern Conference. Orlando City in the Florida Derby win 1-0 over Inter Miami. Their goal is scored by, their goal is an own goal from Damian Lowe of Inter Miami. That's enough to give 3 points to the Lions. Orlando City staying in those playoff spots in the Eastern Conference. Chicago Fire at home, unable to get any points from Columbus Crew. It ends Chicago 2, Crew 3. Texas Derby that featured the debut of Hector Herrera and a rare sellout, or at least full house. I don't know if it was exactly a sellout, but over 21,000 at BBVA Stadium in Houston. And the Forever Orange 2, FC Dallas 2. That one is a share of the spoils to the 2 Texas rivals. And in the Rocky Mountain Cup, it's also a 2-2 result, Real Salt Lake and Colorado Rapids. No games today in Major League Soccer. The next one will be Tuesday the 12th, and it's another Texas Derby. It's Austin hosting Houston. Let's look at the table now in Major League Soccer. Starting in the Eastern Conference, New York Red Bulls and Philadelphia Union joint at the top with 33 points, but Philadelphia have a match in hand. 2 matches in hand on their Hudson River rivals is New York City FC with 32 points. Montreal are 4th with 29. Orlando 5th with 28. Charlotte 6th with 26. Also on 26 and holding down right now the final spot in the playoffs is FC Cincinnati. Columbus is 1 back, as is New England. And 10th, it's Inter Miami with 22. Atlanta United, not that far back, 6 points back of the final playoff spot in 11th with 20 points. Toronto only a point behind them with 19. DC United and Chicago with 17 apiece. Really, nobody out right now. Nobody really too far away from making contact with the playoff positions. And still enough time for anybody to turn it around in the East. In the West, LAFC continues to lead 39 points. However, Austin are right on their tail. Austin FC have 37. Both teams have played 19 matches, as has Real Salt Lake, but they are 7 back from Austin. Real Salt Lake have 30. Dallas have 28. LA Galaxy 27 with the match in hand. Minnesota United pull into the playoff spots. They're 6th, and in 7th is Nashville SC. All 3, 5th, 6th, and 7th, all 3 teams have 27 points. 1 back from them is Seattle Sounders, who are now level on points with 9th place Portland, but Seattle have played 2 fewer matches than their Cascadia rivals. And both teams' other Cascadia rival is Vancouver Whitecaps. They're 10th with 24 points. Houston climbing out of the cellar now. They're up to 11th with 22 points. Colorado 12th with 20. Sporting KC out of the bottom of the table. They have 19, as does San Jose Quakes. The Supporters Shield right now, it's the 2 Western Conference leaders, LAFC and Austin FC, 39 and 37 points, like we just said. And then the two Eastern Conference leaders, Red Bulls and Philadelphia, with 33. They are 6 back of the leaders. One behind them is NYCFC. Leading goal scorers, Valentin Castellanos has 12. He's top of the table this week in the goal-scoring race. Jesus Ferreira and Sebastian Driussi each have 11. Hani Mukhtar and Yeremi Ibosi have 10, while Brendan Vasquez, Tashiris Fontas, and Lewis Morgan have 9. All right, that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up Major League Soccer. Before we go, let's take a look at Liga MX. It is round number 2 in Liga MX, and it gets started on Friday night as it was Mazatlan hosting. There we go. Mazatlan hosting Tigres, and it was none other than Tigres. And guess who? Of course, my guy, Andre Pierre Gignac, with another goal for Tigres. And Miguel Herrera's Tigres take 3 points on the road at Mazatlan. That was Friday night. Also Friday night, Puebla 1-0 winners over Santos Laguna. A goal by Gustavo Ferregiais, and it was 3 points to Puebla, while Cholos Tijuana host Juarez, and it is the visitors Juarez with a surprise 2-0 road victory. That's 4 points on the season now for Juarez in these first 2 rounds. Gabriel Fernandez with 2 goals in that one. We move to Saturday's matches in Liga MX, and we have León at home to Pumas, and that one finishes 3-3 as Pumas actually take a 3-0 lead in this one. Juan Dineno scores from the penalty spot in the 5th minute, putting them up 1-0. And then Osvaldo Rodriguez for León is sent off in the 21st, forcing Renato Paiva to send in Fidel Ambriz and replace Federico Martinez for the tactical substitution to deal with the red card. Gustavo Del Prete will make it 2-0 in the 45th plus 6 in the stoppage time of the first half for Pumas. Unam makes it 3-0 when another one of my guys, my former Benfica star, Argentine, Eduardo Toto Salvio. I believe that's his first goal in Mexican football. He makes it 3-0 to Pumas in the 52nd. But then it comes undone. Shout out Renato Paiva. Shout out León. I said I'm going to be watching this team this season. And they show a lot of heart here. In the 53rd minute, it is Lucas Di Giorgio on an assist from Brian Castillo. It's 3-1. Then the Costa Rican legend Joel Campbell makes it 3-2. A assist for Yairo Moreno. And then in the 79th, Lucas Di Giorgio, once again, Lucas Di Giorgio, with his man of the match performance solidified here, makes it 3-3 in the 79th. That's how it finishes in León, and it is a point to each. Chivas continue to struggle. Another home match and another match in which points are dropped. This time they lose. 0 points taken. I'm not going to complain. It's Atlético San Luis going into Akron Stadium, and they take all 3 points thanks to Facundo Waller. His goal in the 45th plus 3 make it 3 points to the Colchoneros as the side from San Luis Potosi gets the upset victory. Cruz Azul at home at the Azteca to Pachuca, and this one is one that does not go to the home side. Gustavo Cabral opens the scoring ledger in the 36th minute for Pachuca. Luis Chavez makes it 2-0 before halftime at the 45th plus 1. He ends up being the man of the match. But then in the 90th plus 8, Santiago Jimenez from the penalty spot pulls one back for Cruz Azul. But that's all the Cimenteros can get in this one. 3 points to Pachuca. Tough start to the season for Cruz Azul. In the Battle of Titans, Battle of Giants, if you will. Monterrey Rayados taking on Águilas of America. This one taking place in the Estadio BBVA in Monterrey, and it is a victory for Rayados as last season's finalists. Monterrey find themselves, maybe they weren't last season's finalists, but one of the big clubs, my memory is escaping me now who was in the finals. But anyway, it was actually Pachuca. Goals from Medina in the 9th, Mesa in the 66th, and Aguirre in the 74th. Give 3 points to Monterrey. America get goals from Jonathan Rodriguez, the Uruguayan, former Cruz Azul player, and from Alex Zandejas on an assist from Miguel León in the 35th. As America actually took a brief lead in this one before Rayados came back. 3 points to Monterrey. Tough start. Once again, only 1 point from the opening 2 matches for America. And then earlier today, Toluca, 3-2 winners against the defending bicampeón, against the back-to-back champions Atlas. Toluca get goals in this one from Leonardo Fernandez, Fernando Navarro, and from Valber Huerta, while Atlas get their goals in the second half from Jesus Osejo and from Aldo Rocha. Aldo Rocha was selected as the man of the match. I've talked about him a lot in the Mexican press. Think he may be on Tata Martino's list for Qatar, given the way he's been playing in Liga MX in the past season, and the way the start he's gotten off to this Apertura season. And now the next match is not until Wednesday. Wednesday at the Azteca, America will host Toluca. Let's take a look then at the table now. Toluca are the leaders. There's 3 teams atop the league, to be honest, all with a +3 goal difference and with 6 points. Toluca, Puebla, and Pachuca. Juarez in 4th right now on 4 points. 5th goes to León, also on 4 points. Monterrey, Cruz Azul, Santos, Tigres, San Luis, and Necaxa, all with 3 points. 12th place is Pumas with 2. And then Atlas, America, Chivas, Cholos with 1 point. And then in 17th and 18th place, both with -3 goal differences, is Mazatlan and Querétaro. They bring up the rear. But there's no relegation in Liga MX anymore, so what's the problem, right? If you don't make the playoffs, there's nothing to worry about. Let's look at the leading goal scorers after 2 rounds. Lucas De Jorio is the leader for León with 3 goals. Gabriel Fernandez, Leonardo Fernandez, Milton Jimenez, Rodrigo Aguirre, Valver Huerta, Rogelio Funes Mori, and Santiago Jimenez, all with 2 goals, and then a long list of guys with 1 goal. Okay, my friends, that's going to do it for this episode 89 of Parking the Bus. Thank you for staying with me this long. Make sure you're subscribing on YouTube. Make sure if you're listening to the podcast, you're subscribing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. Give me a 5-star rating if you could be so kind. I'm begging, as trying to get this podcast out to as many people as possible. Thank you for staying up late with me if you're watching live. And thank you for listening and downloading if you're listening, on the podcast, or if you're watching it after the fact on YouTube, Facebook, or on Twitter. I'm the Mr. Mike Agostinho. Follow me at MikeAgostinho. Go to the PTB Media Network's YouTube page and watch my movie, my 21-minute movie. It's the PTB Tour Film New York. That's what it's titled. And watch my son and I attending his first ever football match at Yankee Stadium. All right, I will be back later. On Monday, I'm going to be talking about the Brazilian League and the Copa Libertadores as we get ready for the quarterfinals. And also Mr. Benfica dropping for your morning commute Monday morning. All right, it is the season 5 premiere of Mr. Benfica here on the PTB Media Network. I'll see you next time.